Well, chemistry was certainly a factor, but I think chemistry was more a symptom of the major problem rather than the major problem. Look, I don't care about guys getting in an argument on the sideline during the game. It happens, all right? It happens to sometimes the best of teams, championship teams. And you don't even have to like each other to be a great team. But what enables you to overcome things like that are when you are a team, okay? And they were never a team. The Lakers had, guys in it, Avery Bradley's not there. They brought in Danny Green and Anthony Davis, and they have a new coach in Frank Vogel, but they are a team, so you can work through that. Denver had guys in and out of the lineup. Will Barton's still not there. Gary Harris was injured. Jamal Murray was injured. And Michael Porter Jr. emerges as a potential star. But they could work through that because they were a team. The Clippers have never been a team this year. And Kawhi set that tone to some degree by the whole way he came in. This is how I do it. I'm going to miss 20 games. I'm not playing, back-to-backs. Sometimes I'll be at practice. I'll have my trainer. I'll be in shape. Don't worry about that. But sometimes I won't be there at practice and stuff. That worked in Toronto because it was understood. Kawhi's here 1 year, most likely. He's a mercenary. And furthermore, there were no expectations. Brandon talked about the power and pressure of expectations in the last segment. There were no expectations on Toronto, so anything was gravy. This year, the Clippers were expected by most to win the championship. So you had all of that riding on you, and they never became a team to overcome the inevitable arguments and disagreements and things like that. Their attitude from day one was not good. I said it. I don't think I said it on this show. I said it on Undisputed 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was hearing rumblings as teams were entering the bubble that the Clippers, half their team really didn't want to be there. They didn't have the right attitude. They weren't sure they wanted to play. It almost led me to go ahead and change my pick to the Lakers, but I stuck with the Clippers. But the bottom line is their attitude has been poor the entire season, and bad chemistry is more of a symptom of a bad attitude and not being a team.
I want to talk about what you do at this point.
No one's drinking Mai Tais.
We kind of have a small, medium, and large menu of revamp. Small, just keep it the same. Just, hey, we played 32 different lineups. Let's not do that next year. Let's just kind of keep it together. Doc stays, everybody stays. That's small. Medium, Montrez, you're 6 man, but you can't really guard Joker, and maybe you just go out and find a better home. And then large is blow the whole thing up. Move on from Doc, try to move on. You're probably stuck with Paul and Kawhi. That's a bad thing to say, but that's probably true. But you move some of the other big pieces. You move Lou, you move Pat Beverly. So which one do you want to do in the destruction menu?
Well, I think that their only real option is minor tweaks. All 4 of their listed power forwards, Marcus, Montrez, JaMychal Green, and Patrick Patterson, are pending free agents. They could lose all 4 of them and still have no cap space. They're going to have the mid-level exception, and that's it. So they're probably going to have to overpay to try to keep those guys, if for no other reason than to have a tradable asset. They don't have draft picks. They don't have cap space. This is their team. And so, they could move on from Doc, and Doc clearly has some very high-profile postseason failures, Chris. But are you going to get a better coach than him? I mean, Ty Lue, I will say this about Ty Lue. Ty Lue has coached 2.5 seasons in the league. He has as many titles and more finals appearances in his 2.5 seasons as a head coach than Doc Rivers has in his 19 as a head coach. So that is something. But I don't know that you're necessarily going to improve. And Kawhi wants Doc. And what everyone is saying, without saying it, all of this comes down to Kawhi. Who sets the chemistry on the team? The best player. Who is setting those team dinners for the Lakers? LeBron. Who is the guy who, when teams have bad chemistry and don't get along, we always go to? The star player. Why were Shaq and Kobe, though, or KD and Draymond and that Warriors team able to overcome some chemistry issues? Because at the very least, even if their stars didn't get along, at least they performed at the highest possible level when they were healthy. Can't even say that about the Clippers this year with Kawhi. And that is why we keep trying to reverse engineer why they collapsed. Broussard, could it not be as simple as they had huge leads in games 5, 6, and 7, and down the stretch of those games, Kawhi, their best player, was awful. Game 5 down the stretch, he was fine. Game 6 down the stretch, he was mediocre. Game 7 down the stretch, he was horrifying. Final 27 minutes of Game 7, he was 1 of 13 from the field. A 12-point lead turned into a 20-point deficit, eventually a 15-point loss. Maybe chemistry would have prevented them from winning the title anyway. But this series, this problem, why didn't they have continuity? Kawhi load management. Is he at practice? Is he not at practice? Why did they take the bubble so lightly? One of their star players goes to a strip joint during quarantine. Well, I don't know, but it probably didn't help that Kawhi was a late arrival for, say it again, Wilds, what'd you say?
They have delicious wings. That's been documented.
Okay, yeah, but maybe it also set the tone that Kawhi showed up himself late to the bubble. Why did they feel like we'll play when we want to? Because their star player quite literally played when he wanted to. And they signed up for all of that because we know you're going to be great in the biggest moments. And he was 1 for 13 in Game 7 against a young team where you're a massive favorite. Any other star in league history, that would be the story. Not Marcus Morris yelling at Paul George. Marcus Morris yells at everybody. Right. That's not news.